My name's Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio, and you're listening to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable, objectivity prevails, and mediation occurs. Today, I have a treat for you. I have a man that's literally traveled the entire globe, seen the world, lived in it, and has a lot to offer our listeners today. So, Marquette McGee, thanks for coming to the show.
Welcome, man. Glad to be here.
Indeed, indeed. So, let's go ahead and tell everybody about yourself. I guess brief description, or let us know
Sure.
who you are.
Yep. I'm Marquette McGee. I'm from New Orleans, and I started out a naval career after being in New Orleans and sweating through that whole process, going through with my mom and my two sisters. I went to great high school, West Jefferson High School on the West Bank. Finished up at St. Augustine on the New Orleans East Side, and decided I want to go to the Navy, and I joined as an enlisted. Stayed in for about 10 years. First, I joined as a rescue swimmer. Actually, I didn't even know how to swim, to be honest with you, when I first went in. I was only lured by the idea of a $20,000 sign-on bonus. And once I finished rescue swimmer school, I got the bonus. And due to the needs of the Navy, they wanted me to go to P3s. Did that for about 10 years until I decided that, hey, it's time for me to do something different. I need to go to college, and I need to, expand my horizons and become an officer. After 25 years, I decided to get out, and I'm currently in the airline industry, in which, I fly out of Washington, D.C., out of Dulles, Virginia. So,
Yeah. Well, we're on a show called Debatable Truths, so we have to hit you with a few debatable truths based off of your intro.
Go ahead.
Starting with Black people can't swim. So
That's a good question.
So why are you going to the Navy?
I went into the Navy because, to be honest with you, I went to the Army recruiter, and actually I went to the Army recruiter first. They weren't there. Then I went to the Air Force, which I really wanted to go to.
Okay.
And they blew me off. They blew me off. I had the ASVAB scores to get in, but really they blew me off. And later I found out that they just weren't taking in people at the time. However,
Right.
the Navy recruiter was very, very welcoming and let me know that, hey, I got this job called a rescue swimmer, and perhaps you might be interested. And I said, I don't know how to swim. He's like, don't worry, they'll teach you when you get there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the type of instruction you thought it would be.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Well.
Well, debatable truth. Black people don't fly, let alone pilot the aircraft.
Actually, we've been doing it for quite some time. Just to name a few, we're talking about Tuskegee Airmen. That's World War II. So we knew we had some good guys doing some good things back then. And I believe the only living Tuskegee Airman dude is in his 90s right now, and the person lives in Atlanta. So we've been flying for quite some time, despite what most listeners might want to believe. So this is a
although the percentages or the amount of Black pilots in the military or even in the industry is significantly lower than their counterparts, right?
Agreed. And mainly because we haven't been, the on the receiving end of the advertisement for doing it. We don't see pictures. I always say, when you see better, you do better. So if you see, entities promoting Black people doing these types of things, you'll get the minds of people thinking. And we just don't have a lot of that. So it's important for us that are already in the business to go ahead and to go out to the community and go ahead and provide that picture and that hope that we can be there. So
Okay.
yeah.
So when did you decide in your, I guess, early off in adolescent, or did it happen after you had already joined the Navy, decide that you wanted to be a pilot yourself?
Actually, like I said before, I grew up in New Orleans. There was a Navy base that was real close to our home. It was called Naval Station Belle Chase. It's still there to the day. And they used to fly, the Air Force used to fly these A-10s out of there, and they used to fly over the house all the time. I used to see them. And that's kind of where the inspiration came from. But I didn't join the military as an aviator. However, I
Hmm.
wind up being on an aviation platform. And when I did, I ran into a lot of pilots. It's part of my job, and a little bit of envy came in there, and I had a lot of envy on my part, looking at these guys up front doing their job and me in the back doing mine. And I figured, you know what, I could do their job.
Okay.
Nothing about what they did was that difficult. So yeah, that's where it came from.
Right. And then, so what kind of programs that you take advantage of while you were enlisted to get that degree? Because isn't the degree required to become a pilot in the Navy?
That's true. So back in the day, there was a program called the Commissioning Program,
Okay.
and basically where the Navy would pay you as a mid-grade enlisted person as an E5. They would give you an E5 salary to basically drop your military job, your current military job, and just go to a university, some that you preferred to go to, one that you got accepted to.
Okay.
And I chose, Jacksonville University right here in Jacksonville, Florida,
Right.
and finished there. So
All right.
that's
Is
what I
that
did.
that's a fully funded program, and you only go as a full-time student and the Navy pays for it?
That's exactly what they did. They paid every dime that was required: tuition, books.
So they have any programs that's available for that now? Because we got listeners that young black males, females that are listening to this program and they're saying to themselves, "Well, I'm enlisted. I want to, I want to join, or I want to take advantage of that program." So, how do you get selected? Does that program still exist? How do you get selected? And um,
Okay.
what else could be an equivalent to the road to becoming an officer if that's what they choose to do?
Another great question, because there are multiple avenues to get to be an officer in the military. And it doesn't have to be the way that I went. I joined as enlisted and did the enlisted commissioning program. However, there are other programs to date in 2020. One, preferably, it's like a direct commission program called the BDCP, Bachelor Degree Completion Program, which basically you can come from off the street. Now, let's say you're a college graduate uh, tomorrow, and the next day you can walk into a recruiter's office and a Navy recruiting office and apply to become a commissioned officer, just straight up off the street. That's one way. The other
Okay.
way is what I did, and that same program is not called the Enlisted Commissioning Program. Now it's called Seaman to Admiral, or Stay 21 is what it's called now. So that's another great program. Um, we also have others for not just for aviation, but for medical community, um, called the MECP program. That still exists. We have some for other medical programs. It's called, I forget the name of it, but Uniform Medical Services Program.
Welcome back to Debatable Truths, where all truths are debatable. I'm Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio. We still have here with us Marquette McGee, entrepreneur, investor, naval aviator, and airline pilot. Debatable truth: discrimination does exist in the Navy.
Yes, it does. It exists in the Navy, and it's just like it exists out in the civilian sector. It's more systemic, only because the victors or the guys that are in charge of the military are the same guys that are in charge in the civilian sector. You know, they're white guys. They're white guys, and they look upon anything else other than themselves as a threat. So while I was in the military, I did receive, discriminatory actions by individuals, but coming from where I came from in New Orleans, I was really, really used to that. And
Okay.
we as Black men don't understand. We just accept the fact that this happens to us. And we don't really think about how it affects our minds, how it affects our mindset, and how we deal with everything.
Okay.
I heard a great statement said a long time ago that, white men walk upon this earth just playing offense, where a Black man walks upon this earth playing defense the great majority of the time. We don't even get a chance to think about offense until we figured out who is out there, who's trying to fight us, who's trying to take us down, because most times that's it. They're trying to, move you out of the way. And because like I said, you're a perceived threat and people want to get rid of you and remove you and not allow you to move on. Because that's what real racism is. And I'm going to make a sidebar real quick, because when we talk about discrimination and racism, racism is the act of denying someone assets, resources, promotions, jobs, things that will allow them to advance. It's not just calling somebody a racial slur. It's about denying somebody something. And that's what has happened to me in the military and on a couple of occasions, being denied programs, being denied access to something, or even being denied promotion. So that's what I like, a lot of my brothers and sisters to use this word racism the correct way. It's not about calling somebody a racial slur. It's about really, really denying somebody assets, resources, promotions, jobs, etc. Why? And when people say, hey, I hear some people say, hey, Black people can be racist too, but understand that racism is all about assets, resources, and things that you can deny people. Black people, by definition, we can't be racist because we don't own anything. So that's what makes it a little bit difficult for us. So we walk upon this earth playing defense the great amount of time. And that's what I did in the military. So to answer your question.
All right. Interesting analogy for that. So when you experience racism in the Navy, what is the mitigation tool or tactic that you have accessible to you to use to defend yourself?
Good. We do have resources. We do have networks. Black aviators in the Navy, Black commissioned officers would have something called the National Naval Officers Association, NNOA. We'd have something called the BAN, the BAN, Black Aviators Network. Strong, I had some great mentors throughout all of my my tours, and that really helped me to mature as a person and to understand that I don't need to give anybody any power over me by getting upset anytime I was called something or treated a certain way. That I can take the high road, that I can just learn from the experience and rely on the strengths that the people in my network give me.
All right. So you don't necessarily have to, as they say, turn the other cheek when you're in the Navy. You can have others to fight the fight for you.
They were in most cases. And most times I had a problem with a particular senior officer. most times I would rely on my senior officers in the Black Aviators Network because they, at some point, were, colleagues with this person, and I would,
Right.
work laterally to, try to get across, talk to my mentor, and my mentor could tell me on how to, how to act, more protocol on how to address the situation, whether I need to make a grievance formal or informal, and or maybe I just need to approach the individual so I can handle the issue.
So, what are some of the psychological disadvantages that you face, or even saw that other Black service members as a whole faced as service members in America's military?
Well, I think I mentioned before, or maybe I didn't, but racism is this. It's. I can liken it to a virus. It's this thing that, if not cared for, if not, given the right treatment, can cause long, long lasting effects sometimes that are really insidious, things that you don't really see that happen to you over a period of time. And what I'm referring to is mental health. Yeah, we really associate that with folks who've gone to war and have seen death and come back from stuff like that and really can't cope with it. But I really feel that people who are involved, who experience racism, have their own version of PTSD, and we don't realize how it affects us later on in life. We continue this cycle of questioning ourselves after, as to, are we qualified to be in the room with other people here? And the question is, it's always yes. But mental health is a big thing. And for Black men, that's something that we really suppress. We suppress it with, other things, maybe, we revert to alcohol or maybe even working out. But, the truth is, the Black man has to be mentally stable, and we require counseling just like anybody else. So, racism is not something to be taken lightly. It's demeaning, and it is, it's the worst type of treatment, outside of things like slavery that you can really go through. So, I don't want your listeners to feel like, like discrimination or racism is something light or, something to be taken lightly. It's real, and it can cause mental health illness.
Right. And left untreated could, like I said, cause that major psychological disadvantage in your own lives.
Yes, yes, it can. I haven't, I didn't realize how these things affected me. When I made the transition from being a military service member into the civilian sector, there was a difference, slight difference, but there was a difference. In the military, I was always really really hyped to protect my position, to protect my reputation. And anytime anybody attacked what I had or what I was known for, my rep, my good name, I was quick to get on them.
Yep.
I was quick to get on them, dismiss it, quick to just ride somebody's tail about, my rep and who I was and how I defined myself. But when I got in the civilian sector and, I experienced what I thought was, something discriminatory or racist, I reacted the same way, and it wasn't. And, a couple of times people in the room looked at me like I was crazy, like I was overreacting. And frankly, that's what I was doing. I was overreacting only because of how years and years of treatment like that has made me become. It became normal to me. It was normalized. And I thought I had to respond that way every single time, but you don't. That's how
Right.
you give people power, and you really don't have to do that. Be a professional and rely on your network. That's how we handle these things.
My brother. Thank you, Marquette, for coming through today to share your truths about where you come from and your own personal struggles you endured during your successful naval career.
Thank you for the the introduction. Thank you for allowing me to give my part on this, because I'll be honest with you, just speaking about this stuff is therapy. It has allowed me to talk about some of the things that I don't realize that still linger in my brain and cause some stress in my life as I live today. But like I said, counseling is important to me and your viewers. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. We now know the truths about the existence of racism in the United States Navy. And we appreciate Marquette's feedback and sharing of his coping mechanisms he used to survive the daily stressors he faced throughout his naval career. You see, it sounds simple to us that we feel our own Black Lives Matter and that truth is not debatable to us. The truth is, our Black service members aren't always treated as equals, and they do not feel that our flag equates to liberty and justice for all. The truth is also that some of our service members would even kneel during the anthem and may already exercise that right when not in uniform. The very people that oppose kneeling for the anthem refuse to objectify the true meaning of the anthem itself and its intended audience when it was written. On board military facilities at 8 a.m. every morning, they play what's called colors. Colors is where they play the national anthem at 0800 in the morning. All cars, motion must stop. If you're in uniform and covered, you have to salute, turn the direction of where the ensign resides of the base. The ensign is also the flag. So you turn towards the flag. You stand at attention if you're not in uniform or if you are in uniform and not covered. Or if you're in uniform and you are covered. I guess there's times when you're not covered if you go outside and to the smoke pit right behind a building or something like that. But during this time, even civilians have to pay respects to the ensign. They have to stop their vehicle, they have to stop in their tracks, and all motion stops until that ensign, to that national anthem, the playing of the national anthem stops. The very people that are so patriotic that they are extremely disgusted with the kneeling during the national anthem at ball games are the same people that I've witnessed myself running inside the building prior to the playing of colors at 8 a.m. 0800 every morning. Why? because they don't want to stand out there. They don't want to pay respect. But yet they get on social media and their disgust is so real. They can't see the correlation between kneeling during the anthem and kneeling in hopes of racial equality, social justice, a fight against police brutality. Where's the objectivity in that? Welcome back. This is Wolf. And joining me this segment on Debatable Truths are Mama E, aka Mama, and CB. I was excited to introduce them last week as recurring panelists as kind of like a wolf pack here on the show. But since they were missing in action, I just went on with the lone wolf episode regardless. Remember last week we talked about friend or foe, loyalty versus love? I mean, I just recently spoke to my childhood best friend and I posed him the question, loyalty or love? He immediately went with loyalty. He was like, cause you know, we're up. Hey, remember you used to come by the house, and that was before my mom used to let anybody in the house, and she used to let you in. But after a while, but before that, when she wouldn't let you in, you would just sit on the porch. He's like, that ain't nothing but loyalty. That's how that's how loyalty acts. When your best friend comes over to see you, you're not allowed to come in because your mom don't allow guests inside the house. You wait out on the porch until she release me. I was like, and that was the words he used. He's like, until she released me. I was like, yeah, you know those Southern mamas. It's definitely a release.
You got your papers.
Right. I can only imagine how it was in your household, Mama.
Yeah, we didn't do nothing. We didn't go nowhere. We could barely have anybody come over. Like, my mom was very, very protective, but she had her reasons. I understand why she did it, but it was hard for me. You know, I don't know if it was hard for my siblings, but it was hard for me.
Because you wanted to be active, or you already was active, and when you were restricted, that made you feel some type of way really about her.
Yeah, probably the latter. Probably the latter. You know, she would let certain people come over.
Okay.
But it was few
Right.
and far between. It really was.
Boys.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, sucky.
Yeah, sometimes, because you got to keep in mind, a lot of the guys that I grew up with, we've been knowing each other since 6th grade. So by this time, when I was in high school, she would let them come on occasion, you know.
Right.
So these are people I've known a really long time, you know. But
oh, okay. One of her friends, blood boys too.
no,
Or
my
no?
mom didn't have. No, my
She didn't have
mama
no
did not have
friends?
friends. My
What
mama
in
did
the
not
hezzy?
have friends.
Uh-oh. So how was
My
that?
mom didn't have friends.
How was that? How did you learn how to, I guess, build friendships with not having an example of a parent in the household with you showing you what it is like to be a friend?
You know, Rob, when you say that, it is, I'd never put it together in that way.
Okay.
You know, for me, it was pretty natural because kids are pretty good at, you know, coming together. You like who you like, and, you know, you don't like who you don't like, and it's pretty simple at that age. But school makes that a lot easier, the social aspect of it, because even though I didn't have it at home, I could see it play out in other people's lives, you know, at school and things like that. And so it was not hard for me. It was not hard for me to make friends. It's not hard for me to make friends now. It's harder for me to maintain the relationships.
Oh, okay. Is that a connection to loyalty or what you feel a good friend is, or what do you think the contributing factors of maintaining a solid friendship is at this age or this stage in life?
Um, I've learned that healthy expectations, having right expectations of the people in your life, make it easier for them to be your friend. Because if I come into the relationship expecting that you're going to invite me to every party you have, we're going to do everything together, you're going to call me every time you have a problem, you're going to, it's going to be codependent, and that's not healthy. That's not healthy. And I'm learning not to put myself in situations or relationships with people where I'm always taking care of somebody. So I'm learning that I can be your friend without you needing anything from me. And we can enjoy one another's company and we can do things together. And it's a true friendship, not I need you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's based off of that.
Right. There's no dependency involved. It's
Yeah.
just okay. So CB, I mean, we need to hear from you. We heard you giggling, made a little comment, but what would you consider a overall, in your opinion, a solid friendship? And that's both ways, because what you feel, who you feel is a good friend could be different from what you consider yourself as being a good friend to them.
It's loyalty, much like how you said your boy was with loyalty. Because with loyalty, and the way I see loyalty is I need to be able to count on you when I need you.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to how I think in general guys roll, right? So if we're out and something jumps off, no matter what it is, because I'm with you, I hold you down, I got your back. Now, I've had friends that I had to cut off because they didn't come through like I thought they should, or they didn't meet the expectations of loyalty. I'll give you a prime example. When my wife was pregnant with our first child, we were moving from one apartment to another. Now, this friend, I'd gone to help him move. I've helped his family move. I've helped his mother move a thrift shop. And so I asked if he would come over and help us move. He said yes. So he didn't show up, right? That's why he's in this story.
Yep.
From that day forward, he was dead to me.
It could be 1,000 reasons why, but I guess the most important reason that I guess really the listeners want to know is, what was the reason he didn't show up, and how did the communication after not showing up commence?
When you're getting an explanation and a reason that sounds half-ass and just trying to say something.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was also based on how I performed as a friend.
Right.
That when it was required of me, it didn't matter what I had going on. I made sure I showed up.
Exactly.
So that was the litmus test. I based it on how did I perform? And then when the expectation was on you, how did you perform?
Yep.
And they didn't marry up. So that's when I knew it was a one-sided relationship.
Shoot, any friendship. Because in friendships, you got to talk. In friendships, you got to communicate your thoughts, communicate what's on your mind, and you share things like Mama was saying earlier. She got friends that she can confide in, she can communicate with, talk to, and tell them even the deepest, most intimate secrets, even if she had a secret. Now, when do you become just the listener? You don't, no feedback, no criticism, and then no redirection. Because how many times have you tried to spill your guts to a friend and then they made it about them? Man, I just lost my mom in the same week. My grandma passed, and then my other grandma passed the same week of that. And they come back, man, yeah, because, you know, my dad is sick. This ain't about you right now. who, first of all, who died and made it about you? Because nobody died. You just said he was sick. And even if he did, that was 17 years ago. So you can tell me you empathize with me because you know how it feels. But right now, I just really probably just need you to listen.
That's why I have to keep my mouth shut. I'm not a listener. I'm not good at listening. I know that about myself too. Now, I'm not a redirect about what's important in my life. I try to point out the good things in life when dealing with the situation and try to help someone find those things that were good or those memories that they have or something like that. But I'm definitely not someone who just sits and listen. I'm trying to find a solution to the issue. So that's why I'm going to be quiet now and learn how to listen.
All right, Mama.
Honestly, I've learned this. This is something that I've evolved to. When I'm talking to my friends and they're telling me things, I've learned to listen and do a lot of listening, to where now I probably feel more comfortable listening than I do talking at this point. But it was something that I had to learn because, and it's a lot of background to it, but I'm the oldest of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of me is coming from the place of, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to fix it. And I had to learn that that's not my job in everybody's life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I also learned that if people want to know what you think, they will ask you. They will ask you. At the end of their rant, at the end of them pouring out their guts to you, if they want to know what you think about anything that they said, they'll ask you, you know? So it really takes the pressure off, honestly, to just listen. It takes the pressure off to just listen, because people are going to tell you what they want. If someone was pouring themselves to me and they don't ask me what I think after that,
Mm-hmm.
then I can say, okay, well, you're going to be all right. I love you. You want to pray about it? You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to do. But it takes the pressure off of me to do anything else other than listen. So I prefer it, honestly.
So CB, what about the you type of people that can't just sit there and listen, and you feel you got the right answer, or your feedback is going to be so on point that at least I gave you my opinion, whether it was well, you don't really know if it's going to affect them or not, or it's going to help their situation or not. You just had to say something.
So me, as the person who tries to fix things or tries to direct to good things, what I've learned, so we'll start with, as your example, with death. There's nothing good that I can say to make you feel better when you've lost a loved one. I recognize that. So my goal is never to make you feel better. It's to help you make yourself feel better. As crazy as that sounds, right? So like I said, I'm going to ask you, when was the last time that you saw them? What did you guys talk about? How did you feel about talking to them? If you knew they were sick, how many people in the family were able to see them prior to them going? God gave you an opportunity to see them and talk to them. You know, bring some of my own spirituality into the situation, but also help them to see the good things and ask all right, what did you learn from them? What's something that you remember about them that stands out to you? The things that you're not necessarily thinking about, you're thinking about the loss that I don't have this anymore. And I'm talking to you about what did you get? What did you have with that person? Because I know there's nothing that I can say that is going to make you feel better at that time. Uh, having a large family and having a lot of loss in my family, I knew there was nothing that anyone could say to me to make me feel better. So I know I can't say that to anyone else. So I think that's why I say I'm not a listener, because God, man, some people could talk slow, some people may talk fast, and maybe it's a little bit of that ADD, sitting still and being quiet for that long. It may make me crazy. I'm just being honest.
Is there a time where you actually are helping them out and you made it about you, but I guess the intent sounded so clear to where you really had their best interest in hand or in mind, and they received it well? I'll give you an example. So, death in the family, you console them. Like, yeah, you remember when my grandma passed, the one that raised me, and I cried the whole first year. So if you the crier, go ahead and let it loose. If you're the strong one in the family, maybe not show as much remorse or mourn too hard, because somebody got to appear to be strong for the family right now. Or even if you do feel it, or you feel like you just can't hold it in, let it go, because why would you hold that in? Why would you try to keep yourself from crying or mourning or being remorseful or feeling? Some people even feel hate or anger when they have a death in the family, because the first question is why.
I think you did it in the second half as compared to the first part of your analogy or example. And why I say that is, you started on the first part saying, well, remember when my grandmother died, I cried for the whole first year. If you have to cry, cry. Well, you didn't have to say that first part. You could just tell the person that it's okay to cry. And if you have to cry the whole first year, cry. Because if it's going to help you cope with this and feel better, do it.
Right.
And you see, you did the same thing without making it about you.
Exactly. That's that tactic. And that's being cognizant. Because last thing you need is somebody to feel like you don't care about them, or you're not being the friend that they need in their time of need.
Yeah. And it's hard, it's difficult, because I don't think everyone, hell, and don't take it as me saying that I am, but people aren't equipped to deal with grief or consoling people. You do the best that you can based on the skills that you have. As we talked about, you and Mama talked about in the very beginning of this conversation. So it's not this one, but with the parents and how you treat your kids. So it's very difficult, and you learn not only yourself, but you learn the people who you are dealing with, and you have to be aware through the conversation how they are reacting and how what you're saying is impacting them, and whether or not you need to shift on the direction you're heading because it's not working out.
And that's so real. It's too hard to gauge how effective your speech is towards another person, especially in their time of grief. You don't know when you're pushing too hard or pulling too much out of them that they can't bear or they can't handle. The only reason the statement you just spoke, CB, is a debatable truth is based off the simple phrase that people that don't get it don't get that they don't get it. So they don't even understand what you just said and how real what you just spoke meant to that individual that you're trying to console at that time. And plus, they just didn't understand what was going on anyway, because they probably can't walk and chew gum at the same time, regardless. That's the end of our show. I'm Rob Love, the Wolf of Radio. Thanks for our special guests, Marquette McGee, Mama, and CB. Good day.